What's good with it, Black Goose TV family, man? Double salute as always. It's your boy Fluence Boxing back in the building again with some more boxing news from my family members, man. Y'all can see what I'm about to be talking about. Y'all can see the topic here. Y'all can see the topic below. Look, I'm gonna be 110% with my people. This particular news, I'm not even really sure how I want to address this because y'all know I'm like I don't be faking, I don't be capping. I'm not the type of person to be like, oh wow, I'm gonna tell you guys something that's gonna make you guys click on this particular video and want to keep watching the video over and over because I'm telling you exactly what you want to hear. What do I mean by that? I can easily tell y'all Keith Thurman versus Earl Spence is gonna be happening before the end of the year. I can easily tell y'all Keith Thurman versus Earl Spence is going to be a fight made before we see Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. I can tell you Errol Spence, Keith Thurman, Errol Spence, that will be the fight of the year if they get to agreement, if they get to terms, if everything is good to go, if everything is signed on the dotted line, and we have this fight happen before the end of the year. Because obviously we had the WBC order it, the WBA has approved the fight. We're having speculation on December 17th being the possible date for it. Yeah, I can do all that. Get y'all all excited. Get y'all Earl Spence fans mad, hyped up, and be like, look, Earl Spence don't duck nobody, which is why Terrence Crawford is the one who's afraid of the fight. I can be on that type of time, but I'm not going to be on that type of time because I will stand firm in my thoughts, and I have no problem saying I'm wrong. I've done it before. I have no problem saying, "Hey, yo, look, I misperceived, or I dissected the situation wrong." I don't have any problems telling you that, being 100%, saying, "Look, I wasn't right." But I am going to be honest with y'all, man. I do not think Earl Smith versus Keith Thurman is going to happen. I don't think this fight is going to take place. It just doesn't make sense to me when it comes to Earl Spence's side. It doesn't make much sense to me when it comes to PBC side. The only thing that I can see that makes sense when it comes to Earl Spence versus Keith Thurman is the bread, the money, and also building up Earl Spence's legacy and also making Terrence Crawford look worse than he already does. If Earl Spence accepts a Keith Thurman fight, if this fight ends up happening and he beats Keith Thurman, or even if he just accepts the fight, period, it will make Earl Spence look exponentially better when it comes to the fans' perspective than Terrence Crawford, because they're going to say, well, Earl Spence is willing to fight a tough guy in Keith Thurman, while Terrence Crawford is fighting Avian Son, and that's no match. So obviously Terrence Crawford is ducking Earl Spence. What is funny as hell to me, because this whole entire year I'm a big Keith Thurman fan. I've been a Keith Thurman fan for a very, very long time. This year I was big up in Keith Thurman, giving him his props, saying he's a beast. And I got nothing but slander from you PBC fans. I got nothing but slander from you Earl Spence fans. I got nothing but disrespect when it came to, why are you bigging up Keith Thurman? He's not that good. He's scared of Earl Spence. He's ducking him, blah, 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 blah. But this is going to show the bullshit nature when it comes to you people, when it comes to you fans, you motherfucking people who really just love your fighter so much. You can never understand a different perspective. You can never appreciate another fighter because my fighter is the best. And that's always going to be weird to me. It almost makes me be like, okay, what the fuck are you doing in your own life where you're that invested in one male? But either way, I'm not going to get into insults. I'm just going to be honest with you because this is what I'm thinking. It's just very interesting. This whole entire year, every time I cover the Keith Thurman story, anytime I talk good on Keith Thurman, you Earl Spence fans came at me in a grove saying, why are you bigging up this washed 147-pound fighter? Thurman has never done anything. And now all of a sudden, when we have Earl Spence versus Keith Thurman possibly happening, I see all you motherfuckers, the same people talking shit, come out of the woodwork and say, Errol Spence is the best fighter in the world. He's willing to take on such a hard fight in Keith Thurman because Keith Thurman is so good. So that shows that Terrence Crawford really isn't that good, because Terrence Crawford is ducking because he's not willing to fight Errol Spence, and he's fighting David Adesanya, and David Adesanya isn't on Keith Thurman's level. But Errol Spence is willing to fight Keith Thurman, so it shows he's willing to fight anybody. You are so fickle. I can't stand it, and it makes me mad. And it's almost like when you give them this logic, they don't understand, they can't comprehend, because there's so much in their bullshit. Their head is so far up in their own ass. They're like, well, yeah, I said Keith Thurman was weak at the beginning of the year, but he's fighting Errol Spence now, so he's great now. This is an amazing fight. And I just can't stand that shit. That shit irks me to another level. But I will stand by, my original thought. I will stand by my original prediction. I do not think Keith Thurman versus Earl Spence is going to happen. I just don't think Earl Spence and his team think it's a big enough risk when it comes to the reward, because at the end of the day, Keith Thurman is who Keith Thurman is. A lot of people, especially in now, Errol Spence fans, Terrence Crawford fans, unfortunately, even though they're at the same age as Keith Thurman ruled the division, and he did amazing things during the time when a lot of y'all who are boxing fans and love Errol Spence now, y'all wasn't paying attention to boxing during that time, even though Keith Thurman is not any older than Errol Spence or Terrence Crawford. He's in between both of their ages, but y'all wasn't boxing fans back then. So it's like, okay, I give you guys a pass, but at the end of the day, I just don't think this fight is going to happen, even though it's being showcased, it's being reported, it's being like approved of it. The WBC ordered the fight. If the WBC ordered the fight, if the WBA approved of it, etc., and there's a speculation of the date happening on December 17th, trust me, there would be more information out than what is out now. Everything is very iffy. So I'm like, you're not telling me a fight's going to happen within the next fucking, what is that? December 17th. Well, in the next month or so, and we don't have any confirmation on the actual fight happening. I'm not stupid, but it is boxing. I'm going to report it. I'm going to bring it to the people. You Errol Spence fans, it's probably the shit y'all want to hear. So you're going to overhype and overinflate yourselves as fans and think Errol Spence is really trying to make big fights happen and try and downplay Terrence Crawford and what he's doing. Either way, here I am. I'm going to get into the nitty-gritty of this article. Make sure y'all hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're not part of the BlakGooseTV family. Notification gang. Roll to 5K before the end of the year. You already know what type of time we're on, but let's go ahead and get into this article. So this is coming from BoxingScene.com. Errol Spence versus Keith Thurman. Title fight approved by the WBA. The WBA has confirmed that their organization has approved a request for Errol Spence to make a world title defense against former unified champion Keith Thurman in the month of February. Interesting. It went from December 17th to now in the month of February. You really think if Errol Spence takes a fight against Keith Thurman in February, Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford is not happening. On November 14, 2022, TGB Promotions applied for special permission on behalf of Spence to fight Thurman in February 2023, but with specific mandatory conditions pursuant to WBA Rule C-16, which states that mandatory defensive periods can be modified for cause, either by special permission request or on its own initiative. The WBA decided that Spence can face Thurman. Spence, who holds the WBC, WBA, and remember the reason why they're doing it, if you guys don't remember the video I dropped yesterday or the other day, whatever the case may be, Stanionis, he was like, yo, I'm the WBA. Like, I'm your mandatory. I want to fight you. But boxing is very slick. They ordered Stanionis versus Virgil Ortiz for the WBO, I believe. And then obviously we have the WBC belt ordering Spence versus Thurman, and then the WBA approving of it. So they're basically saying, yo, Stanionis, take a step back, go fight Virgil Ortiz. Earl, we want you against Keith. Spence, who holds the WBC, WBA, and IBF title at 147, was recently ordered by the World Boxing Council to make a mandatory defense against Thurman. Spence, 28-0, 22 KOs, saw action back in April when he fought Ugas. Thurman, 30-1, 22 KOs, saw action in February when he decisioned Mario Barrios over 12 rounds. Additionally, the sanctioning body recently ordered WBA regular welterweight champion Emiantes Stanionis to make a mandatory defense against Virgil Ortiz. Ortiz defeated Michael McKinnison in WBA Eliminator on August 8. The winner of the bout, or Stanionis, if it ends in a draw, will face the winner of Spence Thurman within 180 days of their bouts. So it's like the reason why I don't necessarily understand this, because we're basically putting a tournament together where Errol Spence versus Keith Thurman, Stanionis versus Virgil Ortiz, the winner of both will fight the winner of both, right? The loser of both might fight the loser of both. Where does Terrence Crawford fit into all this? So I don't know how confident I am in the fact that Spence Thurman makes sense, because it does not lead to a Terrence Crawford fight. But is this negotiation tactics from Al Heyman? The winner of these bouts will square off in the near future to determine the Pioneer Body Soul of 147-pound champion. The WBA added, the winner of Spence Thurman bout is obligated to meet the winner of Stanionis versus Ortiz. This ruling supersedes all previous rulings, and any issues that arise along the way will be resolved under the WBA rules. So it's like the WBA and the WBC are doing everything to prevent Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence. So a lot of y'all who are Errol Spence fanboys can't understand what negotiation is, doesn't want to open your eyes up, doesn't want to be unbiased, doesn't understand how shit goes. How can you explain this? It's like the WBA and WBC are colluding and are in works together to make sure that Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford doesn't happen. Because if they approve, the WBA is like, yo, I'm going to approve Keith Thurman versus Errol Spence. You don't got to fight Stanionis, even though technically that's your mandatory. We want Stanionis to fight Virgil Ortiz. We want you to fight Thurman. Have whoever the winner is fight each other. Crawford doesn't fit into this equation at all. So how do you guys feel about this, man? I want to know your personal opinion as always, man. Hit it below in the comments, man. Drop it. Get the algorithm going crazy, man. While you're doing that, man, hit the like button, subscribe to channels right next to it. Twitch. I'm on Twitch. Fluence TV. You already know what type of time we're on. Love y'all, man. Appreciate y'all, man. On the Arnold Schwarzenegger side of the game, I'll be back with one more boxing. Stay blessed, nice stress. I want to know what y'all think about this. I had another video for this when it came to supposedly Errol Spence versus Keith Thurman was projected for December 17th. I'm not going to do that because this is actually more recent than the last one that I was just talking about. So this is telling me that they're actually looking for this fight to happen in 2023, which means we, as Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence hopeful fans, we need to put our hope down a lot lower because it seems like ain't nobody trying to make that fight happen or no one's excited for that fight other than us as hardcore boxing fans. So let me know what y'all think. Much love to people as always, man. I'll be back, but one more boxing on Schwarzenegger side of the game.